Hey, welcome to Nerds of the Old Republic, the podcast where we drink and discuss nerdy fiction, and pretty soon, I'm just going to be utterly lost. But that's for the next cast. This one, I'm totally in, because we're talking The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. I'm Adam.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Mike.
I already gave it away. We're talking the Netflix TV series, Sandman by Neil Gaiman. But first, we have a mission for you, dear Nerd Nation. As I mentioned, our next book and watch is going to be J.R.R. Tolkien based. The Silmarillion.
No. We practiced
They
this.
coached me. I said it in a mirror. I wrote it out phonetically.
Fuck!
There it is.
Damn.
Okay.
Can I help you with that?
Yes, please.
It is pronounced Silmarillion.
Can you use it in a sentence? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So,
Adam cannot pronounce the word Silmarillion.
sometimes when I read these books, I take the word out and I just replace it with a real basic word. So Silmarillion will become silver. No, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to become, but that's literally a reading strategy I feel like I was taught back in the day, and I never overcame it.
Oh.
So I'm
Interesting.
fucked. Totally fucked.
Yeah,
Totally
that's okay.
fucked.
We'll save you.
But Nerd Nation, here's the mission. We want to make a friend of the cast out of Stephen Colbert.
Oh, yeah.
And we know that Mr. Colbert is a fanatic for this entire world. So we want you to get on your Twitters before it becomes a dystopian nightmare. Get on the Instagrams, get on whatever handle that we can find Stephen Colbert at, and get him to listen to our next episode. Maybe even get him to contact us. Could you imagine how fucking bonkers it would be to have Stephen Colbert call into the next podcast?
That'd be a great career opportunity for him.
I know,
if he
really.
were a guest on our show, I feel.
Yeah, I think he needs the bump for his ratings.
I really am a little concerned because ever since he took over that late night TV show, I don't even remember the name of it. It's like a little thing. But like, I feel like he's kind of gone downhill.
He's really betrayed his right-wing values.
Yeah. I'm really surprised how much he speaks out against Kanye West.
Yeah,
Like,
it's crazy.
I'm not understanding this.
He might be the only human being on the planet that rivals my own knowledge of Tolkien, so... Or betters it.
I would literally love to see this conversation between the two of you go back and forth. There would be so much pressure on the lightning round. Dear fans, let's make this happen.
Oh, no. I already know he'd destroy me, but I like to think I know a lot about it. But
It'd be fun to be
This guy has
turned to
read the
dust.
appendices front and back, and I've glanced at them. So, I mean, he is definitely the foremost Tolkien expert. But I would love to see what he thinks of our discussion of the great Tolkien work. So,
Indeed.
Oh, absolutely. So there's your homework, Nerd Nation. Hit up Stephen Colbert on every social media you can. Send him to our podcast. Tell him we're looking for him. Tell him we want to talk to him. Whatever you can do.
yep.
Yeah, it's really a minor thing to ask, I think.
Yeah.
Land us a major celebrity.
Camp outside his house.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we should ask our 12 followers to do. Is camp outside the house.
Exactly. Hey, I think
It
it might be 14 or 15 at this point.
It might be. I don't care how many we are. We can still be endless.
Hey, not bad for... Oh, nice.
Ooh, you see what I did there?
All right. Yes. I was going to say, we're not bad
Fishing
for
for bells.
For a free cast here that doesn't cost you a dime to listen to.
No. Speaking of things that don't cost a dime, you want to support us besides getting Stephen Colbert on the podcast, why don't you hop on over to Good Pods? It's a social podcast network and catcher, and you can get great recommendations from people like you, like us, and you could follow us. We are The Nerds over on Good Pods. I'd love to start a community with y'all, listen to you, share our common interests, and pass around some good podcasts back and forth to one another. And you know what? You're supporting a good set of people here at Nerds of the Old Republic, but you're also supporting the little person. You're supporting the underdog in the Good Pods podcatcher versus Spotify and all those other ones that shall not be named because they might sue us for some reason. So, start up a Good Pods account and see if we can start a revolution over there.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And now for the drink. This is the second cast in a row that Sean has chosen to surprise us with a beer, so I'm going to let him take it away from
And
here.
I will say it's going to be hard to outdo the previous cast, that peanut butter porter that hit the spot.
Oh, fantastic.
It was really good, but I'm going to reach into my mystery Amazon box of beers over here, and I'm going to bring out something that I know as English teachers, we often tell our students never to judge a book by its cover, which as cliched as it is, I mean, let's be honest, we all do it.
I would shamelessly do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you look at the Three Body Problem cover, which is still conveniently sitting here. It's an awesome-looking cover. I'm thinking,
It's fantastic.
I want to read that.
Yeah.
Based on the cover. Listen to the cast, though, and you'll find out the truth. But I shamelessly bought this beer based strictly on the can alone. I didn't even look at what the beer was when I bought it. I just thought, that can has spoke to me.
All about that can.
Mm-hmm. I am all about that can.
Man, I am on the hook. What do we got?
I know.
So
really.
I chose this beer and then realized what it is afterwards, and I hate these kinds of beers, but you guys will like it.
It was too late.
I
The
know what
can-
it is. I know what kind of beer it is.
And it spoke to me in a Sandman kind of way, because the Sandman's older sister is, as you know,
Death.
Death. And Death is often represented by a...
Skeleton?
It would be holding a...
Pitchfork. Not a pitchfork. A
Scythe.
scythe.
known as the...
Reaper.
Oh, there you go.
And I found this.
Oh, hell.
Now those are some
yes.
nice looking cans.
This is, what is this?
Lord Hobo.
It's called Doom Sauce.
Oh my god.
It's a black double IPA by Lord Hobo Brewery.
Doom
And-
sauce.
I
That's
would-
like a
I
black
think
metal porno.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. I don't
That's
even
near
have
its
to open
snuff
this.
film.
I don't even have to open this can right now to know this is going to be the greatest beer of my life.
Yeah.
This Doom Sauce.
Fuck, that
Have
is
you ever had a black
cool-ass
IPA before?
can.
I have not had a black IPA. I've had IPAs, which I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of because I
Yeah.
get heartburn from it. But
Yeah.
the black IPA made me think that I would sell my soul for that. So I'm going to disconnect them and
As-
pass these out.
As Death herself would say.
yeah.
It has a stellar Grim Reaper on the front,
Doom
whose
Sauce.
face is a hop.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
The can has a metallic sheen to it, which is
It reminds
friggin'
me
fantastic.
of like special foil comic book covers from the 90s. Like that's the quality of the print on this thing. And it's a graveyard, and like you said, it's the hoppy Grim Reaper. And I'm thinking this is good for a gothic style cast. So
Yeah, and there's a raven on one of the
Oh,
tombstones, which obviously is important to
Yep.
Dream.
yeah.
Gentlemen, are you ready for the ASMR moment?
There's
of
a
the
little story on the side here too.
Is there? Well,
I'm not going to
moving too
read the whole
fast.
thing, but I think these are tasting notes, but they're written like this: "A welcome darkness has fallen upon Boom Sauce, our flagship double IPA." And it goes on from there: midnight,
pouring
conjuring,
black in midnight.
summoning, mortal men. These are great tasting notes.
Damn, you're right. We should just read the goddamn thing. It's
You do
fucking-
it, Sean.
Are you ready for this, gentlemen? All right, we'll cut it out if it
Wait,
sucks.
this is for the premium cast only. People should pay for this voice.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
hit us up with our OnlyFans account. A welcome darkness has fallen upon Boom Sauce, our flagship double IPA, pouring black as midnight, with a hefty tan head, yet conjuring the aromas of fresh citrus, layered with the soft tropical fruit and candied orange flavors you know and love in Boom Sauce. by summoning the smoothest black malts available to mortal men, we have created a delicate roasted malt backbone with a slightly sweet and remarkably clean finish. From the depths of darkness, the Doom Sauce emerges.
Oh my
man,
gosh.
that was fantastic.
That was so good. I'll give you a bell for that too, Sean.
For the way you said
Oh my
Boom
goodness.
Sauce alone.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
I literally could not look up from my microphone because I would have broke the whole
I was
time.
trying so hard not to break down while doing that.
Oh,
We
yes.
need to get
Fantastic.
just Sean. You just need to read the Raven on one of these podcasts.
Yeah.
That'll be on our
Phone
premium
book.
OnlyFans
There you go.
content.
There you go.
Are you ready, guys?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Cheers. Oh, yeah.
Nailed it.
Doom Sauce.
Oh, that smells hoppy.
Well, it's a double IPA, so it's going to be. Did they have the IBUs on it? I didn't see.
Danny, you might have to finish it for me.
It's 8%. I don't think anybody should be drinking anybody else's. Except for Mike, since we're at his house.
Yeah, that's true. I can.
Doesn't have the IBUs on it, but from Sean's reaction, it might be uber
No, I just have a hole in my lip.
Oh,
Are we allowed to taste this now? Can I taste?
Oh, I already tasted it.
for a double IPA, that's not as hoppy as I thought it would be.
Lord Hobo, you magnificent bastards.
What have you done?
I mean, that tastes like, an IPA.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known this was like a black IPA or anything from that. I mean, it just tastes like how I expect an IPA to taste.
It's always interesting how somebody balances the coffee notes you get from the darker burnt malts against the hop, because generally you use like the lighter malts, like a caramel or like a Pils or a Munich or something like that in an IPA, especially a double IPA, and then you get like the extra toasted or the burnt malt for a black IPA, and really it doesn't add mouthfeel, it's just for the color at that point. Maybe a little bit of taste depending on how much you use, but in commercial breweries it's not usually a ton because black malt's real expensive.
There's definitely, you can taste the darkness in it. Mm-hmm. I didn't mean it like that, but you know what I mean?
That's what she said.
I just want to say this is part of Lord Hobo's Good Lord series.
That's a whole nother accent right there. Good Lord.
This is, you know what? For an IPA, which usually I cannot tolerate, this is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will finish this beer. Oh, well, yes.
Sean, your beer reveals, you're 2 for 2, man. We might need to make this a regular part of the show.
This could be a new feature.
Yeah. It's certainly better than Jenny.
We don't get the tasting notes, though, that came with the last ones. Yeah. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go back to our last two casts, the outside ones, where you can hear the lawnmower.
The Lawnmower Man would be a good one to do, too.
I have such an affinity for that shitty movie.
The movie or the short story by Stephen King?
I did not read the short story.
It's very short.
Okay. Yeah. Stephen King wrote something very short?
And still doesn't end as well as any of his... I mean, it doesn't end at all.
No, nothing ends well by Stephen King. No. But, I remember seeing the movie and being enthralled with it because I love techno thrillers and I love that sort of thing.
Pierce Brosnan.
Well, I forgot Pierce Brosnan was in it.
That's right.
So, lots of good stuff. We are enjoying the Doom Sauce. I can't do it. I can't.
Doom Sauce.
There you go. Sean's voice is 3 octaves deeper than mine. We're enjoying the Doom Sauce by Lord Hobo. And if you want to find yourself some... go grab some. We're going to take a second here to just enjoy this, imbibe a little bit more, and we'll catch you on the other side of this break. All right. We are back. We're enjoying this Lord Hobo Doom Sauce. Nope, still doesn't work.
Sauce.
There you go. Thank you. And we're about to get back into a conversation about Neil Gaiman's Sandman, the 13-book graphic novel series that we read, gosh, when was it, guys? A year ago?
Sometime in our illustrious past.
You should listen to all of the podcasts to find out when it was.
Adam and I are both doing the Jedi hand wave right now.
Yeah, just enjoy. And I wanted to go back to your first memories of it before we get to the actual conversation of the series. I know we're a bit removed from the reading, but what do you remember? What do you take away from that? What did you bring with you to this watch of the Sandman TV series?
I think the series is a masterpiece. I had read it prior to us podcasting on it and reread it for our podcast. Mm-hmm. I will, I said then and I'll say now, amazingly, I have no idea why I have not read volume 9 and 10, which is like the main series. And then I think there was a couple of extra things that he did. I've read 1 through 8. I don't know why. And I've read 1 through 8 twice and read then 1 through 4 for, I think that's what we did for our podcast.
Right. Yeah.
I have to finish it. I don't know what the fuck is stopping me from getting 9 and 10 and finishing it, but from what I've read, multiple times, I think it is one of the most profound things I've ever read. So I guess I'll leave it at that. I thought that was what I had coming into the show and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love Neil Gaiman's work. I think he's got some really cool conceptual stuff. I like the series a lot. I thought it was great. There's a couple of things here and there I probably said fuck you to when we did it, but
just to be that contrarian guy.
Yeah, and that's my role, right? But
yeah.
I liked it in general. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, that's where I was at too. In fact, it's funny how as I meet new adults and we talk about our shared interests, more of the new adult friends I've made are I've got this beautiful bound collection of Sandman series in black leather with silver foil, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad we're friends. This is a sign that we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Also, how much did you pay for that? Because I'm really interested.
I've eyed that up more than once, and I've never pulled the trigger, but it's a want for sure. That is gorgeous.
Yeah,
edition of it.
I think it brings it down to a 4-book omnibus.
Yeah,
and obviously the books are the size of like a Tolkien novel.
Yeah,
plug for our next podcast.
Thank you.
Yep. And I'm the same way. I was just utterly gobstopped with how many things he could work into a series, realistically creating a world, and nothing felt oddly shoehorned or out of place.
World building is fantastic.
Yeah, it's up there with, masterpieces of Tolkien variety. I'm trying to pander at this point. But no, seriously, it's one of those that I need to go back and reread because I definitely know that I'm going to enjoy it the third time I reread it.
It's funny you mentioned like the beautiful artistry of it too, because I was a big comic book guy back in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s and that, and just knowing that this is one of the first graphic novels that transcended comic books and it became an artwork into its own, and just how it really did revolutionize the comic book quote unquote industry, and it became something like, no, these are works of art. It's not like a dime store comic book thing anymore.
Yeah, it definitely transcended, and I think part of that was because of the awards it won. That got it prominence in ways that I don't think any other graphic novel or graphic work would have gotten beforehand. I feel really remiss to not know the artist. Like, I know it was a DC imprint, but
there's several that worked.
Yeah, there was multiple,
okay.
and you can see that as like even the depiction of Morpheus himself. Can vary volume to volume. He looks a little different.
But the beauty of that was the way Gaiman writes the character is that he is what he appears to be to all different people.
Very true.
So even when the art changes, it fits with the story. Yeah. It's like the whole thing was just so well constructed.
It was, and it's, I mean, when I said before I used the word, did I say complex or profound? I don't remember, but they're both true because they're, I mean, what is actually in those books is like, I mean, there's legends and there's mythology and there's philosophy and
there's religion.
There's so much religion and it all, you start to realize as you go through this series that it's like, this really isn't about whatever you think it's about in a single volume. What they all have in common, like the common theme that permeates them all is stories themselves. The way that stories are, woven into the fabric of our society throughout history, the role of stories, the role they play in our lives, the different things that we do with stories and what they can achieve. I mean, these are all things that are explored in every volume of Sandman.
Yeah, I that's a pretty common theme in a lot of Gaiman's work. The power of human story to conjure things into being.
Right.
I think that's like American Gods follows
for sure.
like a thread like that, and it's just the idea that we can imagine things into existence.
Yeah,
and I love that idea. I think it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, I think as English teachers, that is kind of an organizing premise in our profession, is that the things we read can manifest in our lives, and that's why it's important to read. Right. That's why it's important to follow the stories. And so, the Netflix... go ahead.
I got to imagine several million followers for our podcast into existence. And I also want to imagine several hundreds of millions of dollars into my bank account.
Yeah, we have a internal podcast text thread. For a while, we were talking about buying an island.
Yeah.
And populating the island with our families, and then other things
mega yachts,
racetracks, because some of us are car enthusiasts / want to just drive fast things.
Yeah.
For sure. So again, get Colbert. This is the second call to action.
The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Oh, that was profound.
That was the number of callbacks to Tolkien we can make today.
Oh, no, that was Confucius, buddy.
Oh, I thought you were quoting... Okay, well.
But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Confucius was heavily influenced by Tolkien.
That is right. Abraham Lincoln told me on the internet. That's right. I read it on Truth Social.
That was excellent.
All right.
Oh, Jesus, Truth Social.
I brought it... Yeah, y'all started that. Now, fuck it. I'm going to continue it. All right. So, given how highly we held Sandman, I guess I'm going to start with the presumption that the audience has either read Sandman, listened to our podcast on Sandman, or watched the series. So I just want to jump straight to, did the series hold up to your expectations? We'll start with the big question and kind of work our way down.
It exceeded my expectations, but that's an answer that I have to explain,
Sure.
because I really believed that this series was unfilmable. And there have been many attempts in the past that have failed because of that exact reason. You're reading Sandman, it's hard to really imagine how that could work, as a tight, 2-hour narrative as a movie or something like that, right? Yeah. But they finally did it. And I went in, this is one of those things I went in and said to myself that I was going to keep my expectations very reasonable. I did not expect any show that they made would even be in the ballpark of discussion in terms of artistic or literary merit with the graphic novel. Mm-hmm. So my question was just like the things that I wanted to see in the show, in terms of like the visual quality, the imagining of Morpheus on screen, trying to hit the major beats of the graphic novel without changing or losing too much. The overall tone and atmosphere, those kind of things. Were they there? Were they done well? And I thought they were. I don't think that the show's a masterpiece. I don't think it could have been. I think it was as good of a Sandman as we're possibly ever going to get. And I was satisfied with that.
Sean?
I mean, the whole thing was, it's like a live action love note to the graphic novel. The people who made it obviously have a high affinity for the story and the art and all of that. It was like, to me, it was basically the comic book came to life. And that was, I don't want that to sound like too praiseful, because I think there are issues with that. The idea of interpreting something and basically just rehashing what's already been done. Yeah. Which I think this falls dangerously close to just being, I don't want to say the word needless, but something that did not necessarily need to be because it doesn't add anything.
Yeah.
I was just about to ask, do you feel like it added anything? So you feel like this is a attempt to copy some of the stories from the collection as Netflix would deem appropriate for their audience instead of adding to the world that Gaiman's created?
Yeah, I think what they're doing is, and it's probably a lot of corporate, trying to oversee the creation of a long-term production where we're going to establish, almost like what The Force Awakens did for the new trilogy, which wound up spectacularly failing, but starting off with like, this is familiar. You will know this. Mm-hmm. This is what you are all expecting to see. And then guaranteeing that second or third season comes back or whatever, which, by the way, it has. They're coming back for a second season.
Yeah.
And then they start to take more risks with the storytelling and the medium and all of that, which can get beyond. And I think Gaiman's a producer on this, right? Like he's involved in it.
Yeah, he's involved. I was actually looking as you guys were talking to this.
So I think there's the potential for it to become another part of the medium. And they did change some things, like Constantine being a woman in this one, which is interesting. Some things were superficially different. Some things were substantially altered. But really, on the whole, it's the exact same story. It's the exact same aesthetic look. The guy, I don't know his name, he plays Dream, he is like Dream, like just walked off the page and he's alive. Like that.
Tom Sturridge.
He really nailed the fucking character.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
The only thing that I was pissed about, though, was when they draw the comic, his voice has that dark black line around it, so it makes you know that he's got an otherworldly voice. That's what that means. But he just has like a really soft, sort of like commanding voice, which is still good in its own right, but he doesn't have the dark, otherworldly voice, which I expected from Dream.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. And I did, I guess in two ways. Like, I really connected to Sturridge's portrayal of Sandman because he felt like an emo kid from my early days. And so I was like, hearing The Cure in the background and that sort of thing.
Cure.
Michael Smith, or not Michael Smith, what's his name?
Robert Smith.
Robert Smith. Yeah.
And so like, I love that. And the first like what is it, maybe 2-3 episodes where Dream is trapped in the basement, and he's naked for the whole time. I'm like, that's literally shot for shot.
Yeah.
The graphic novel there. How that dude got his body to be that well aligned with the graphic novel, I'll never know. And I don't know if that's like makeup, lighting, or whatnot, but
just skinny ass dude.
The skinny ass dude. There's hope for me. But you're not gonna see my ass on TV for 72 minutes.
Just your junk.
How much am I getting paid?
Check out our OnlyFans.
There you go. Well, it's funny as I'm here on the page because we asked about Gaiman's involvement, and he's listed as developing it. Besides being based on his series with Gaiman and Sam Keith and Mike Drenenberg, he is not listed as a producer. No, I'm sorry, he's an executive producer, not a producer.
Okay.
So he's definitely involved in that. He was not involved in the cinematography or the editing. But one thing that really surprised me is, I guess I figured that Netflix would throw money at this, but all the reports I can find say that there's about $15 million per episode.
That's pretty high.
This entire series cost them $150 million.
Wow. That's way more than I thought.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but I think that's the only way you could have gotten what we got.
True.
The art style is one thing. You can do that with just good cameras and good lighting and decent acting and that sort of thing. But I thought so many of the technical turns that were required for this to match the tone of the graphic novel, which I think is so much of the translation, really had to be done with first-rate special effects. And so, good for that team. I can't find the name of the special effects team without, digging into the credits of an episode or something right now. And I don't want to do that.
It is beautiful to look at, though.
It's stunning.
It's up there with Rings of Power, and then that had $1 billion behind it. Right. But this is
holy shit! It had $1 billion.
We'll talk about that in our next episode.
Okay.
But the
Jeff Bezos sold a cowboy hat to make that.
Oh yeah, he might have ruined his chance of buying the Commanders with the amount of money. No, he didn't. No,
don't care. Yeah. I don't care.
But tune in next week because we'll be chatting with Stephen Colbert about this exact issue.
Yeah, and how the Silmarillion has been. I'm going to mispronounce it 15 different ways. Hey, I got it. We're close
I think
enough.
so. It sounded good, like that beer slur, but it was.
Yeah. All right, so we seem generally happy with the translation from the graphic novel
generally
to the series. So I wanted to switch over because, the graphic novel, so many things. There are so many plot lines that some of them get tied in, some of them admittedly don't get tied in. They just make maybe a reoccurring appearance. I'm thinking like Shakespeare and that sort of thing in the graphic novel. What did you think of the portrayal of the Corinthian and his drive to kill Dream, to take over, to stay in the human world? Because I felt like that was a bigger driving force in the TV series as compared to the graphic novel.
Yeah, and that was a point I wanted to pick up on, because I think it was very true to the story that we got in the graphic novel, as Sean said, but I think there were several changes that they made narratively, probably for pacing issues.
Sure.
For example, one of the ones is that they kicked up the story that actually happens at the end of Volume 1 of The Sandman, where he meets his sister. Mm-hmm. They put that somewhere in the middle of the TV series. And that one where he repeatedly meets that guy every 100 years, which is one of my absolute favorite parts of the entire series.
Graphic novel.
I may be wrong, but I'm not even sure that that's in the first volume of Sandman. I think that's brought in from another series. And it's combined with that, the death episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there are little changes that they make for pacing and for narrative. And so you're asking about the Corinthian. And I think that was, I think they probably looked at it and they said, like, look, the series needs an antagonist, which we don't get in the book. Not a clear one.
Right.
He's there, but he doesn't do almost anything till the very end at the serial killer convention. And then that ends because Morpheus shows up and is like, hey, fuckhead, get back in Dreamworld. And that's it. Like, the story ends.
I made your ass. I'll take it right out of here.
That's literally almost what happens in the story. So I think they said, like, okay, we need a clear antagonist, and we need him to be active throughout the series. And so they had to write in a lot of extra new shit to do that, turn him into an antagonist. And then they had to up the stakes at the end. Morpheus can't just show up and fucking kick ass. Like, he needs to actually have a conflict that might not go well for him, and it's a battle. And So that was one of the big changes, and I was fine with it, because I think that's what they had to do. Like I said, for pacing, if you didn't make those changes, then I think the series probably suffers, because television is a different medium.
Yeah, that's fair. Sean?
Yeah, I agree. I think they, whenever you translate something into a different form, you have to make it fit that form. And part of it was, our expectations are that you're going to have this antagonistic force, where I think arguably in the graphic novel, it's more of an inner conflict for Morpheus throughout most of it. And he's dealing with his own problems, and each one of them is kind of embodied by a different sort of small antagonist, like the Corinthian or the guy with the ruby.
Who makes a big deal, actually, in the Netflix series. He gets a couple episodes all to himself.
Yeah, and it is like that in the, maybe not a couple of, like, might have been a few issues he was in the series, but it was, again, it's all part of, like, that journey he's on to regain his stuff and to learn something about himself and...
The quest narrative.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that to make that work in TV, you do have to have that sort of, like, central arc that all the other pieces can pivot around. And the Corinthian just seems to make the most sense from what we would get in the graphic novels to do that with. Mm-hmm. I think they obviously had to power him up a little bit, right, for the show, but it's not a distraction. It's more of like just a different interpretation.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine what the show would look like if it ended the way the graphic novel ends? Yeah. Morpheus just shows up and is like, hey, you're going with me, and that's it, and it ends. Yeah. Everyone would kind of that would be a big cinematic letdown.
It's more like French theater than at that point. Like, where you get, like,
it just says Finn.
I was just about to say.
Exactly.
Finn.
It's got a little more ennui going on. And really, you walk out thinking about existence, going like, oh man, I have so many questions. Like, this is like the satisfying American ending. Like, oh yeah, he beats the bad guy.
Yeah. Right. That's well said. I think the graphic novel is more... contemplative about what it would mean to be endless, and that there really can be very few antagonists for you if you're endless. And so how do you as a character act differently? How do you as a character have or even see conflict? Like, there's almost literally no conflict, which I think is the interesting start to the whole story, in that this thing that is endless is captured. And so his response to everybody around him is, fuck you, I'll outlast you. You'll all die, and I will be out of here. So I'm not going to bargain with you. I'm not going to deal with you. I'm not going to interact with you. It's fine.
Right.
So that does make a lot of sense to me. One thing we haven't touched on is we talked about the guy with the ruby, whose name is escaping me right now.
John D.
John D.
Yeah, Dr. D.
Yes, did you catch where they set John D's institution?
Oh, yeah, that would be a little city on the lovely shores of Lake Erie, Buffalo, New York.
Indeed. Looked nothing like us.
I was trying to picture.
Filmed in London. I looked.
Yeah, I'm
like,
look
at bitch.
There's like one street scene. I'm like, that's kind of, if you squint, looks a little like.
If you squint, it looks like Buff General during a snowstorm.
Kind of.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you, man, we are up and coming in the cinema world. Guillermo del Toro just filmed Nightmare Alley there. Great fucking movie. Yeah. Filmed it here. And Netflix just released a series called Cabinet of Curiosities, which episode 1 is set in Buffalo. It wasn't filmed in Buffalo, but it's set in Buffalo. Bitch.
So we're a macabre place where weird shit happens. That's what
I didn't make that connection, but obviously, yeah. The Guillermo del Toro Cabinet of Curiosities is a horror anthology. Sandman is a dark fantasy. It's a compliment. I think we'll take that.
I did think it was hilarious though when she's driving John D in her truck there, the one with the Rottweiler, and she's talking about like, oh, we're gonna be, where are you going? You're going here. I'm going there. I'm like, none of those places exist in New York.
Yep, not in Buffalo.
Yeah, not in this area.
Well, you know what? Can we all admit that it was better than Bruce Almighty?
Oh, God.
The movie that was allegedly shot in Buffalo. Yeah. And you know what they shot in Buffalo? The fucking Niagara Falls scene.
That was it.
So,
nothing else.
Suck a bag of dicks.
I wish our waterfront looked as nice as the waterfront in that movie, though.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I mean, now it does.
It's better, yeah.
It's better.
It's closer,
it's
yeah.
Better. Right. Back in our day, the river burned and, all that stuff. There was more dead fish than actual live fish in it, but it's getting much, much better now.
At least it smells like Cheerios.
That's right. It does smell like Cheerios.
Adam, I wanted to, if we have some time, I wanted to pick up on a point you were just making about the beginning of the series, which I always thought was super intriguing and brilliant. In the graphic novel, the character introduction and the whole first series or whatever you call the issue, whatever it is in a graphic novel, he doesn't say a word. He just sits there looking physically imposing. And to me, I think I expected the show to change that because I wasn't sure what that would look like on camera and if that would be considered something that would hook an audience. But they didn't. And I think you said it before that it's almost like shot for shot. It almost looks like the graphic novel. And man, I mean, it's part of it is the people who directed, part of it is the people who edited, but a huge, for me, I think a huge part of it is that actor, like
Tom Sturridge.
I don't know, because he's not physically imposing. You know what I'm saying? But there's something about Morpheus in the graphic novel that always is imposing anyway, somehow.
It's the glower.
Maybe that's what it is.
It's glower power.
The dark brooding glower power.
It's the
cure
glower
power, man.
Yeah.
And he's got it. Like, this actor
really
has
does.
it. Like, he sits there and he just stares. And it's this intense, burning, smoldering stare. And he never says a word for like 40 minutes of the show. So much credit to the people who decided that they were going to do it that way and stick to the graphic novel, because I think it was perfect.
The best thing about, really quick, sorry to interrupt him, but the best thing about that character too is they did not try to humanize him. Where I was worried that they were going to try and make him overly complex and overly problematic, where it's like, no, he's not human. And like the way he interacts with the people he's wronged, you always expect him to make some kind of amends, and he's all like, "We will see." Like with Calliope, she's talking about their kid and all that, and properly mourning, and there's this human pathos there, and he's like, "I don't know." It's like he just sort of like leaves her hanging.
Or that story thread with Constantine's girlfriend that she just randomly ghosts, but they need the sand because she left the sand there, and she's been using the sand, and she's fucked up. It's basically opium, but worse. She's like, "Do something for her," and he's like staring at the screen for a full 10 seconds before he decides, leave the room.
Right.
Yeah. He didn't have that empathetic reaction to it. It was more of like, I'll do this for you because you helped me out kind of a thing.
But that is a big part. That's a big part of the series, I think, is Morpheus's journey to some sort of understanding or empathy with humans. And
Death has that.
Yes, she completely
does. Which is
does,
interesting to me. Death has it.
But I think that it was moments like the one that you highlight there, Adam, where, they brought that across well in the show. Like, he doesn't fully understand what she wants or why she wants it. He's got an objective. The objective's been achieved. Let's leave.
Right.
But at the same time, he's like trying. And that's what that long stare is, the glower power again, and then he's like, okay, I'll bite. And he does it, and I think it's
almost like a lark for him. It's like, why not? I've lived for millions of years.
I can. That's not the issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But do I want to spend the next 3 seconds, which is nothing to me, curing this human, ending their suffering?
Real quick, the cure. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
But you guys were talking about the actor Tom Sturridge, and then I was just thinking to myself, there were some other really great actors, like a lot of Game of Thrones alumni in this, like Charles Dance as the Magus who captures him.
Oh, yeah.
He was good. Like that guy was Tywin Lannister in the Game of Thrones series, and he was
I didn't make that connection.
Very good there. Yeah, it's him. And then Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer, I thought that was inspired. Because, like, my wife and I were watching it together, and I'm like, that is the best casting I've seen in this entire show.
Yeah.
Because the devil, or the angels, are all supposed to be androgynous, and she's an imposing woman. And just, like, how well they played her in that, and the way she carried that role, I'm like, oh my god, I want a show just for her. Yeah. That's one of the best.
Give her Lucifer, Morningstar.
Yes! That's one of the best parts of this whole mythology that Gaiman has put together. Like, when Dream says that Lucifer's more powerful than him and all this.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's also the undercurrent that he's a human construct.
Yeah.
Or it is a human construct. God is a human construct. All of these things, where Dream is not. Dream is endless. Yeah. It's beyond human imagination. It's just a part of the being of the universe. But, like, God, the devil, the demons, all of them, they're all conjured up by humanity. Right. And they have as much power as we give them. And he is also subject to those rules.
Right.
Like why he was captured and all that, which is a big part of the comic book in that, is because he has to abide by the rules too.
Right.
Even though he's endless, which I think is a really interesting mythology.
It is. And to circle back to the first point you made about the casting, I had this like probably less than 10-second introduction to the character in the show where I was like, really? Because you're right about the androgynous thing, but the character is depicted very differently in the graphic novel. And that was, probably the first time she spoke on camera, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, that's
right.
That's terrifying. Like, that's so unsettling. I think I had a chill down my spine, you know? I was like, that's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. The challenge scene between the devil and Morpheus was one of my favorites in the graphic novel, and it just came across beautifully on screen. They did the right thing with the editing, being those quick shots of, I am the snake, horse eating, horse poisoning, or whatever she says. I am hope.
Yes.
And I was like, oh fuck,
the
man.
way she captured that, like, deep sadness that Lucifer has for being cast out of heaven, like, someday you'll see it again, and just that look on her face, and then she's like, she's giving back his helm, and then it's like, oh, dude, it was so good.
Yeah. Now, so much of this relied upon the actors.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how much free reign they were given, but just keep doing your thing. Honestly.
Absolutely.
Agreed. I'm glad it's back for another season, honestly. And it's a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to kind of, I think, what Mike said in where the subsequent series add to the story instead of just replicating, because I do think a lot of the audience they were aiming at are people who haven't read the graphic novels. Right. Maybe they'll go back and read it, which, bully for Gaiman, like, give that author all the money you can give him. But I really think that there's so much that he could kind of, like, lead them to have in the series.
Yeah.
And, I hate to keep coming back to the number, but for 15 million episode, that's more than Friends made per episode back in their day, and that was for the longest time one of the highest rated or highest paid.
Don't forget inflation
per episode.
Adam,
That's fair. That was
the world has changed since the mid-90s.
Shit, you mean I'm not 15 anymore?
Oh my god, dude, that was like 30 years ago.
Yeah, it was, man.
Fuck.
Thank you. Damn. So for those of you who are just tuning in, we're English teachers, and I feel like one of the trappings of our profession is because the people in front of me don't age. Yeah, I know they leave, and then they, new students come in, but the people in front of me are always 15. So, because I teach 9th grade. So, I always see myself as the same age as when I started teaching. Yeah. I forget that I'm 37.
Yeah, you're not. You're older.
No, I'm older, and I'm glad to be older and not dead, but I forget how long it's been.
I know we've talked about killing some of our cast tropes and not doing the same thing all the time, but I gotta say this. Fuck you, age! Oh, God. I'm just like the same thing. I'm sitting there going like, holy shit, that was 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. 30 fucking years, man.
Which means that actually the Sandman series is older than Friends. It's older than Friends.
It's almost 40.
It's almost 40.
Yeah.
So we're reading some old stuff, but proof that the good stuff hangs around. We're still alive, and Sandman Netflix just spent $150 million paying for a 40-year-old series.
There you go.
Real quick before you do anything else, I just want to say shout out to the episode of 1,000 Cats Dreams or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Much
better, I think, on TV than on the graphic novel.
I think it was the animation style was super cool. I love the risk they took with that. The second half with Calliope was a little bit of a snooze, but that first part was just wild, and I'm glad they did it. I'm like, man, you know what? This is the kind of ballsy decision making I want to see in a program that's doing like a fantasy thing like this. Mm-hmm. I thought it was cool. It was awesome.
But I agree with that. But you briefly mentioning the second one with Calliope just made me think of a point that I wanted to make about the presence of the actor who depicted Morpheus, and not even him so much as just the way they shot it and the editing. Because there's this great moment in that episode where whoever the author is, I forget his name, but he comes back into his house, and Morpheus is sitting at his writing desk waiting for him. Yeah. And there's a lot of moments like that throughout the series. There's one right in the very first episode where he first gets out of the bubble that he's trapped in. And he's just sitting in a chair when the guy who's been like looming over him for decades walks in. There's all these moments where Morpheus is just present. That's all he is. He doesn't even have to open up his mouth, and he's just so imposing, or at least cool looking. So credit to wardrobe, credit to editing, and everything.
Agreed. I think the best part about that character too is, like you said, his motivations are a bit ambiguous sometimes, and it's just he's not outwardly seeking revenge, but he's not above it either. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's like this again. He plays that role of almost like disinterested revenge in a way of like, I guess I need to go and do these things. Or whatever. He's more.
This
interested
is what
in,
the humans expect.
Yeah.
So.
But he's more interested in setting his own house right and that kind of thing. And it doesn't matter about the other sides of things. He doesn't give two shits about any of the human part of things. He just needs to get the dream world back the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's good. I like the series.
Yeah. Well, I think we can end on that because, here at Nerds of the Old Republic, we're always trying to innovate, which is also a way of me covering for the fact that I just plumb ran out of time to do a lightning round.
We should burn the past.
That's right.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
You can't return to the past. What do you mean, old chap? So many references here.
That's not science fiction.
No,
we're going to
it's
send
not.
you back to the future.
21.1 gig. I don't know. I got nothing left here. But in all seriousness, we were talking, and this is actually this is the first season where the pandemic is thankfully fully receded. We're back to
Oh, shit. Now you said it out loud.
I did it. It's over. Going back. Delta Cron or whatever the fuck is going to come back.
Delta Prawn?
Delta Cron. This 8% beer, Sean.
It's got like a Transformers, like Decepticon name.
Yep.
Delta Cronius.
Yeah. But no, we were saying before that, like, this is the first season where we've been back to like full work expectations, for full life expectations, and so
Whoa.
well, okay, me,
Yeah.
I have these things again, and so I just have not balanced things correctly. But perhaps it's time to break with the past, because you can't be, in a rowboat rowing against the tide, boarding back into the past ceaselessly.
Come on, Fitzgerald.
I don't know why that came to me instead of sci-fi quotes. I'm sorry. But in any case, we're looking to change the end, aka, again, I forgot to do the lightning round. So if you have any suggestions for how we can end the cast in some sort of fun, competitive, goofy way, we'd love to hear it. Hit us up on Good Pods,
Fist fight,
Twitter,
ultimate fighting, arm wrestling,
leg wrestling,
Leg wrestling.
leg wrestling.
All right.
What you don't know is Sean would have the advantage because he is a good foot and a half taller than me, so not fair. But we're open to anything. Hit us up on the socials. Let us know. What do you hear out there that you like? What do you think we could do differently? We're just looking to shake things up.
Something different. Because lightning rounds is so 2021.
Indeed, they are. Right. That being said, I think we're 3 yeses for the Netflix series. Am I reading the room right?
Yeah.
No.
Fuck you, Sean. I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, it's one of those rare. It's a rare thing where I agree with everybody.
Yeah, we've had a few of those. Saga was one, and
the other
probably another one.
Yeah, if you've never listened to our Saga cast, another fantastic graphic novel series, go pick it up.
The second half is in process, by the way. We got to get back into that soon.
We really do.
First volume, I think, just came out, right?
Yeah.
I will say this, though, by the way, real quick. I was coming into this, watching the first few episodes, going like, did this really have to get made? What the fuck? I was all ready to start laying it down, but I got into it more, and I'm like, you know what? No, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fight it. It's good.
Yeah.
Watch it.
Sean.
There you go. I don't know what's gotten into Mike tonight. He's given away so many bells.
I know. I've been a little
appreciate
slutty
it.
with the bells tonight.
You know what? I needed to pick me up, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
But my recommendation is obviously a yes. I have no real criticisms of the show. I felt that the final few episodes they kind of locked into the narrative and the trying to bring it to a head and resolution and all this stuff, which I understand why they did it narratively. I thought it lost a little steam in those last few episodes. The first 6 episodes or so was so much great character and world building.
Gosh,
so I mean, that's if I have any criticism at all, that would be it, and that's a minor nitpicky thing. I'm obviously a yes. I thought they did a really nice job with something that is obviously difficult to film.
Agreed.
Yeah. Same here. I think in certain ways, the style that Netflix added on top of the story was just different enough in certain ways stylistically, and seeing like live moving humans in the world of Sandman was interesting enough to keep me around for sure, even if it locked onto the narrative, to use Mike's words there. And I'm looking forward to seeing what season 2 does for probably more than $15 million an episode. But, God bless them. Netflix has got that cash to throw around.
They got the cash.
Right?
Just like Amazon's got the cash for Rings of Power.
Speaking of, join us next month as we lock into the Silmarillion and Rings of Power. It's taken me 5 times to say that.
You got it, man.
Yeah, you got it.
Just takes practice. By Jur Tolkien.
Jur Tolkien.
I will tell you, dear audience, I never pronounce it that way. Just let you know. J-R-R. Hard pauses between the letters.
J period.
What do they stand for?
Jason.
Jeremy
Rick,
Reynolds Ryan Tolkien.
Are we bringing back the litany round? Dun, dun, dun.
No, I won't even hit the bell for that. But join us next time when we dive into the Silmarillion, and after that, Amazon series Rings of Power.
And we discussed with Stephen Colbert, which we know you're going to make that happen for us. So
Come on,
you.
pull hard, Nerd Nation.
Yes.
We want to get that.
That's right.
Let's make a friend of the cast.
We got to stress our worldwide influence in everywhere on the globe except for Nebraska and Vermont.
Yeah.
But everyone else has listened to us.
Yeah, honestly, everyone else on every continent.
Yeah.
We are looking for total penetration in all possible interpretations of that phrase.
I just cringed when he used the word penetration. I'm sorry. On that note,
that'll be our new catchphrase. There is the Old Republic, total penetration.
Total penetration.
Oh, and thank you, Lord Hobo, and your Doom Sauce.
You have been fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, Nerd
Thank you for
Nation.
tolerating us.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for tolerating us. As Mike has just said, we'll catch you for those next episodes. Until then, stay nerdy and cheers.
Cheers.
Boom saw.